Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, President Trump defiant in the face of impeachment.
They've been taken over by a radical group of people, and Nancy Pelosi, as far as I'm concerned, unfortunately, she's no longer the Speaker of the House.
The president lashes out at Democrats as new details come out over a controversial call with a foreign leader. And a major challenge to East County Congressman Duncan Hunter. A former local congressman says he's about to make a big announcement.
Just being out here is what brings people to OB.
A new law makes it easier for street vendors to set up shop, but changes could be on the way in San Diego. And a new wildfire threat. See how firefighters are protecting homes right now in Lakeside. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening. It's Wednesday, September 25th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Priya Sridhar. We start with pushback from President Trump. Today, the White House released a rough transcript of a call he made with the president of Ukraine. Mary Maloney has more on what it reveals and has reaction from President Trump and Democrats.
In the midst of an impeachment inquiry centered around President Trump, the president sat down with his Ukrainian counterpart for the first time. But the two leaders have spoken before. The White House released a transcript of a call from July. In it, President Trump asked President Zelensky for, quote, a favor. Among other things, investigate former Vice President Joe Biden and his son, Hunter.
What we're looking for is corruption.
The president wanted the Ukrainian leader to work with Rudy Giuliani, his personal lawyer, and U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr. The conversation came after the United States temporarily withheld aid to Ukraine.
Nobody pushed me, yes.
In other words, no pressure.
Democrats say the discussion is damning.
What those notes reflect is a classic mafia-like shakedown of a foreign leader.
President Trump is adamant, insisting he did nothing wrong.
It's the single greatest witch hunt in American history.
The call is at the center of a complaint filed by a whistleblower, concerned about the administration's actions.
That whistleblower needs to be given the complete freedom to report any allegations of wrongdoing that have come to that whistleblower's attention.
I fully support transparency on the so-called whistleblower information.
The president says the call controversy and impeachment inquiry are simply Democrats playing politics.
It's all a hoax, folks. It's all a big hoax.
In Washington, Mary Maloney, KPBS News.
KPBS Midday Edition talked with a former San Diego-based federal prosecutor about the impeachment process. That's part of the extended coverage you'll find right now on kpbs.org. And PBS NewsHour will have more on this story tonight at 7 p.m. And now to a developing story in Lakeside where a new wildfire is burning. This video is from CAL FIRE along Willows Road near I-8 in Lakeside. Fire crews are busy on the ground and in the air. 20 homes were evacuated for a short time. Firefighters say they have stopped forward progress, limiting the fire to about 20 acres. And we have an update on the wildfire in Dehesa. It's burning off Sloan Canyon Road away from the Sycuan Casino. So far, about 200 acres have burned. No homes threatened at the moment. Last night, about 150 residents were temporarily evacuated as a precaution. The fire is now 21% contained, and the cause remains under investigation. A big name is set to jump into the race for Congress in East County. Darrell Issa says he'll announce his intentions tomorrow. A press conference will be held in El Cajon. Issa is no stranger to Congress, having served 18 years representing North County. He decided not to run for re-election in 2018. Duncan Hunter is trying to hold on to his 50th district seat. The congressman is facing trial in January on charges related to the alleged misuse of campaign money. The city of San Diego wants to dismiss thousands of low-level convictions. The focus, marijuana. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman explains why.
Marijuana convictions used to mean something, and the law is now obsolete.
State law requires prosecutors to review some marijuana convictions that are eligible for dismissal or reduction.
The purpose of what we're doing and being aggressive and out front is to try to take the burden off of individuals to wipe their slate clean.
Today, the city attorney moved to dismiss around 30 convictions.
That's the first 30 of at least 5,000 we will be filing. We have looked back to 2009 in our current database.
The city attorney's office will also be looking at thousands of convictions before 2009.
I think it's an important step. I think we've seen other prosecutorial agencies throughout the state reviewing these convictions since Proposition 64 passed in 2016.
Attorney Michael Sindritz specializes in cannabis law.
There are people out there that either don't know that they still have these convictions on their record or don't have the resources to have these convictions eliminated on their own.
Sindritz says some low-level marijuana convictions could keep some people from finding work.
There are certain types of jobs that would look unfavorably upon marijuana convictions, misdemeanor marijuana convictions, or even infractions.
The city attorney did not have specific information about the more than 5,000 people who could have their convictions overturned.
These could be first offenders, these could be repeat offenders, it could be any number of a type of cases and defendants. However, we do know these are for cases where the possession of cannabis flower or plant material was less than an ounce, and possession of concentrated cannabis was 8 grams or less.
The San Diego County District Attorney's Office has also been reviewing marijuana convictions. A spokeswoman says the office is getting ready to submit more than 25,000 requests to reduce charges or dismiss cases. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
There are some new options for a future transit hub at San Diego International Airport. SANDAG is showing off conceptual drawings of a hub that would be built on Navy property near Old Town. A driverless subway line could make the trip to the airport in about 3 minutes. Estimated cost is between $4 and $5 billion. Officials will decide Friday whether to continue studying the plan. You may have noticed more street vendors around San Diego this year. That's because there are currently no local restrictions on them. But now the city is considering cracking down.
Egypt too, yeah.
Luis Sierra and his friends have been selling jewelry and artwork on the pathway in front of Ocean Beach for years.
People come here to vacate, to have fun, to escape. And there's a lot of tourism here. People just really love when things are handmade.
But most of the time he's been selling his natural stone jewelry, he's technically been committing a misdemeanor.
It's a way of life. So whether it's illegal or not, if I can do it within a means where I'm going to still be able to feed myself and those around me at night, it has to be done.
Now a state law that went into effect January 1st has decriminalized street vending. The idea is to foster entrepreneurship. For now, cities across California are scrambling to create some regulations that will conform to the new state law. Robert Vacchi is the Deputy Chief Operating Officer with the City of San Diego. He says cities have to manage issues from vendors who may dump trash or block access to bathrooms or bus stops.
So in high traffic areas, you're going to be limited as to what you can do for vending. In the lower traffic areas, there's lesser restrictions.
He says vendors will be more restricted on crowded sidewalks like in the Gaslamp District or the boardwalks in Mission Beach and La Jolla. Vendors who break rules now will receive tickets ranging from $100 to $500 instead of criminal charges.
It's all about a balance. You have to balance the health and safety of the whole versus the opportunities for the individuals. And I think that's what we're trying to do.
For instance, Vacchi says instead of requiring aspiring business owners to pay for high insurance starting out, the city is decreasing their liability by limiting where they can operate. Sarah Burns heads up the Business Improvement District for Pacific Beach. She says her organization, along with most of the merchant associations across San Diego, are supporting the proposed regulations.
I mean, I think, of course, you want to be cautious if you own a coffee shop and now someone's allowed to open a coffee shop right outside your door. Of course, there's going to be concern and questions with that.
But the new law says any city regulations can't be to stifle competition. They can only focus on public health and safety.
We didn't start on the sidewalk. sidewalk, but we started at, like I said, farmers market, street fairs.
Bernard Lebel is the owner of California Sock Company.
We fit 500 styles in 10 feet by 10 feet.
He started out as a street vendor in San Diego at farmers markets and has now moved on to own 2 stores in Pacific Beach and at the Fashion Valley Mall. While he has personally seen the business benefits of starting small, he also thinks that vendors should have the same rules as brick-and-mortar store owners.
I would like everybody to have to pay the same taxation as everybody else. Same permits, same permitting process, same taxation, a brick-and-mortar versus street vendor.
The new regulations will require street vendors to get a $30 permit once a year. They will also have to remain within a certain distance of various intersections and loading zones, comply with hours of operations in parks, and push carts can't be larger than 6 by 4 feet. Food vendors would also have to get a county health permit. But many street vendors, like Ryan Gilmore, say they haven't really been part of the discussion about new regulations, and they're not even sure where to find the information on the rules they would have to follow.
There's really no current public information for street vendors, The only way you're going to know is if they come up to you and start to tell you to take your stuff down.
The proposed regulations are set to be heard by City Council in October. Many vendors think they shouldn't be heavily restricted.
That us being out here is what brings people to OB. It's not just a beach. It's an atmosphere, it's a people, it's a way of life.
Lucky for Luis, he can keep that way of life because OB is not on the list of places for vendor crackdowns. And the city attorney's office is currently reviewing the proposed regulations. The largest maker of e-cigarettes has announced it will halt all U.S. advertising and is replacing its CEO. Juul Labs also says it will not fight a sweeping ban on flavors proposed by the Trump administration in an attempt to reverse a surge in underage vaping. The shakeup comes amid growing calls for tighter restrictions and the recent deaths of 10 people to vaping-related illnesses. An Imperial Beach Navy veteran currently held in an Iranian prison has lost his appeal to the Iranian government. Michael White was sentenced to 10 years in prison for insulting Iran's supreme leader and posting private information online. He was the first known American imprisoned by Iran after President Trump took office. Starting next week, major changes in the way the military handles medicine. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh explains the transition taking place.
The change has been coming for a few years, but starting Tuesday, all Navy and Marine medicine will be consolidated with Army and Air Force medicine under the Defense Health Agency. DHA Assistant Director Air Force Major General Lee Payne was recently at Naval Hospital San Diego.
Our belief is that this integrated system of readiness and health is not going to change. We're going to continue to support the warfighter and the warfighters' families after the transition. So I wouldn't expect any difference.
Payne acknowledges that there have been discussions of cuts once everything has been finalized. In its 2020 budget, the Pentagon proposes cutting 18,000 jobs from military medicine once the transition is complete. Payne says no decisions have been made.
We'll look at the market to figure out what resources need to be there, where can we gain some efficiencies, and how do we perhaps execute the care in a market fashion, not as an individual Navy facility or an individual Air Force facility.
He says San Diego is expected to remain a hub for the new command. Naval hospitals at Balboa Park and Camp Pendleton will become part of Medical Forces Pacific. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
Earlier, we told you about the wildfires burning in East County. Fire conditions are high across California. We'll have your forecast in a moment, but first, a look at the situation up north, where precautionary outages are costing people a lot of money. Kate Larson has more.
You can feel right now how cold that is.
Robert Morris is the co-owner and general manager of Grand Cru Custom Crush in Windsor, where cooling is key.
We're looking at millions of dollars worth of inventory that really cannot get warm.
He and the rest of the wine country are in the middle of harvest. They need PG&E and their power to keep the wine and grapes cool, so the threat of large-scale power shutoffs is no small inconvenience.
As a business owner, I really don't like being in this situation because it causes me a lot of anxiety.
It also costs him a lot of money.
This is what it boils down to, $42,000 of United Rentals generator, and we're ready for the power shutdown.
Money spent, whether the power goes out or not. Morris is also a reserve firefighter in Healdsburg. He worked 96 hours straight fighting the 2017 wine country fires and says we need to prevent those type of fires at all costs.
As a firefighter, yeah, I don't want to see fires started from down power lines, so it's probably a good preventative measure. It's just a very unfortunate set of circumstances.
And that was Kate Larson reporting. PG&E carried out more planned outages today, affecting about 48,000 customers from the North Bay to the Sierra foothills. Well, starting tonight, parts of East County might see a thunderstorm. The unstable weather could last into tomorrow. Regina Miller has details in tonight's forecast.
Well, as we take a look at the satellite and radar here across Southern California and also in Arizona, moisture feeding in is going to lead to some showers and some thunderstorms. Taking a look at the last couple of hours, you can see not much showing up, but as we go into tonight, we are going to be dealing with some showers or some thunderstorms around. Here's our future cast. So you can see how we are going to see some of that moisture working its way eastward. So some showers or thunderstorms popping up maybe around Mount Laguna and points to the east there, even into San Diego for tonight during the overnight hours. This is around 4:30 in the morning, maybe a shower or thunderstorm in the area. So watch for that for tonight. We do have flash flood watches in effect, and that is generally to the east of about the Salton Sea there. So looking into our area, we're going to see shower or thunderstorm around for tonight with some of that moisture working its way northward, and our temperature 67 degrees. As we head into some other locations here, looking at your forecast, Borrego Springs is at 68, 52 Mount Laguna, some showers or a thunderstorm. And the farther east you go here towards the mountains, that's where you have the chance for maybe some localized flash flooding. So we'll have to watch for that for tonight. And then tomorrow, some thunderstorms are going to linger here across the southeastern areas, the deserts and the mountains there. And as we take a look at tomorrow's forecast, places like Mount Laguna, shower thunderstorm still in the area. Also up into Borrego Springs, shower thunderstorm in the area there. And for the coast, we have low clouds breaking for some sunshine here for the afternoon for your Thursday. Friday, clouds breaking for sun as well. On Saturday, there could be a stray shower, maybe even a little bit of drizzle around as we have some cooler air working its way in for the late weekend. Inland area is going to see some rain or drizzle around on Saturday with a mostly cloudy sky, mostly sunny and cool on Sunday. So you see those temperatures going to be dropping. In the mountain areas, we're going to see sunny, cool conditions, and we do have a thunderstorm that will still be around for your Thursday. In the desert, shower or thunderstorm in spots on Thursday, 89 degrees, plenty of sunshine for Friday, cooler on Saturday.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, fallout from a phone call as the impeachment inquiry begins. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
A NASA astronaut with ties to San Diego is heading to space for the first time right now.
And liftoff. Oleg Skropochka, Jessica Mirza, Ali Al-Mansuri leaping forth from Gagarin start on their way to the International Space Station.
Jessica Mir, who received her doctorate in marine biology from the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, is part of a 3-person team that blasted this morning from Kazakhstan, just south of Russia. Together, they'll conduct tests on the effects of space on the human body while on the International Space Station for 6 months. The UN has a new report on sea levels, and a local scientist who helped write it says it paints a bleak picture of a climate changing faster than expected. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson has details.
The UN report says the ice in Greenland and Antarctica is melting faster than previously thought, and the ocean is warming at a faster rate as well. The study paints a dire future of higher sea levels, a warmer climate, and more destructive storms. Lisa Levin co-authored part of the report, and she says researchers were taken aback by the speed of change.
Warming in the oceans is accelerating. It's been speeding up since the mid-1990s, and many of the other changes, including sea level rise, are also, as a result, accelerating.
Levin says the report finds rising sea levels will permanently change where and how people live. She says climate change is no longer an existential crisis that might happen.
We already have climate change. We have it here, we have it around the world already happening, and that's a major message of this report, is that it's been documented already. So off California, in the California current, we've been seeing warming events called the warm blob for a while, and then I think this year it's also been very warm, maybe called an El Nino, I'm not sure. But warmer waters here cause species to move north, change their distributions, which can affect our fisheries.
Levin says coastal storms combined with higher ocean levels will create havoc along California's coast. However, Levin also says some of the worst outcomes can be avoided if people make choices that stop putting pressure on the environment. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
And the effects of climate change are being felt far from our coasts. Scientists say carbon is changing the crops we grow and worry the Trump administration is minimizing the issue. CNN's Dr. Sanjay Gupta reports.
I became disillusioned when it was clear that climate change was not a priority here.
Up until the spring of 2019, Louis Ziska was a plant physiologist with the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Do people at the highest levels of leadership within USDA believe climate change is happening?
You'd have to ask them. I only know what I've read in the papers about folks like Sonny Perdue who don't seem to think it's real.
The head of agriculture for the United States may not think climate change is real.
From his own comments, it sounds like he agrees with others within the current administration that this is not evidence-based science.
In the spring of 2019, Ziska resigned because he felt science was now taking a back seat to ideology.
You're entitled to your own opinion. That's great. We're a free country, but you're not entitled to your own facts.
Facts, science, happening at places like this, a patchwork of green in the heartland of the United States, one of the most robust producers of corn and soybeans on the planet. 21 million acres here in Illinois alone.
This is your lab, huh?
Yes, yeah. We're lucky to have it.
It's what drew scientist Andrew Leakey from his home country of Scotland to the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign.
This is why I moved here, actually.
But the climate is changing this most fundamental way of life as well. It's what Louis Ziska has been sounding the alarm about. The carbon in the air is now changing the food coming from the ground.
So we are essentially going into your time machine, as you say.
Absolutely. So you've stepped from 2019 into the mid-century in terms of CO2 concentration.
Within this outlined space, these plants are getting gassed with 25% more carbon dioxide. Why? Well, that's the level scientists project our atmosphere will have in the year 2050.
I just heard the hissing sound.
That hisses, yeah. We're now on the upwind side of the plot, and if you reach out, you can probably feel some of the CO2. Yes, feel some of the CO2 coming out the backside of the plot there.
We humans need oxygen, as you know, but plants, they like carbon dioxide. They use it in a process called photosynthesis. So if you have more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, that should be good for plants, right? Well, sort of. It definitely can help plants grow bigger, but not necessarily better. That carbon gets turned into carbohydrates or sugar. It also makes it so these plants have less of the good stuff, like zinc, iron, and protein. It's turning some of the best foods we humans have into junkier food. That sounds like a significant problem. If some of the staples of our diet, some of the most commonly grown crops on the face of the earth are changing.
I think those of us in the developed world have the luxury of being able to go take a supplement or adjust what we buy at the supermarket, but there's around 2 billion people in the world who are already zinc and iron deficient, and there's also about 2 billion people who depend on the grains that they eat for their supply of zinc and iron.
It is one of the ways most of the world will first experience the impact of climate change. And no doubt, it's one of the most critical issues of our time. which is why it was so shocking to learn that the USDA wouldn't even let Ziska talk to us about his study.
We tried to sit down with you earlier this year, as you may know, and then we were told you wouldn't be able to do it.
Right, and that was the first time that it happened. They said, no, we don't want you to talk to CNN.
When we asked why were we denied a chance to speak with Ziska, the agency said they didn't publicize his work because they had concerns about the nutritional claims in the paper. When pressed further about speaking with Ziska directly, the agency said there is no additional or new information to share. Ziska believes it was once again the agency putting ideology before science.
I'm a little worried now listening to you because I feel like, first of all, there's real concerns about what's happening with the climate, and then additional concerns that we're not being proactive about something that we could be proactive about. Yes. Should I be as worried as this is all sounding?
I think you should be worried, but I don't think you should give up hope. As I mentioned before, there are good people in these agencies, and they're just looking for an opportunity to put their skills and their abilities to use.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening.